So you believe me? Mom, you really believe me?
Yes, Kay, I believe you're telling the truth.
Thank you, Mom. I wouldn't lie about this. I swear, it's the truth.
Kay's telling the truth. You actually did this. You plotted to tear me and Grace apart. You are a despicable human being.
Oh, come on. Don't tell me you believe Kay because she has some look in her eye. That's crazy.
No, I'll tell you what's crazy. I've been trying to deal with all these horrible things that's been happening to my life and to Grace's life. I couldn't understand how things could have gotten so bad so fast. But now I know. This explains everything. Grace, we've been manipulated. This whole thing is a lie. You and I are still married. David isn't your husband. He never was your husband. You've gone through hell because of a lie. And you're not gonna get away with it. I'm not gonna let you get away with ruining our lives. Don't you see how this all makes sense now? Ivy made this whole thing up. She brought David here to our home to try to tear us apart. And she almost did.
I find it so hard to believe that anyone could be so...
devious. Well, look at her. You're looking at a picture-perfect description of devious.
Sam, this is too much. I'm appalled that you would think that of me. You're the father of my son, for God's sake.
And you tried to use that, too. Grace, this is all a big scam. You and I don't have any problems. This was all a lie. We were manipulated. You were never married to David. Never.
But if I wasn't married to David, that means that John's not my son. John...
Oh, come on. What is the matter with you, Mom?
Kay, please, don't.
Don't what? You just got the greatest news ever. You're still married to Dad, and all you can think about is that John's not your son anymore?
Kay, are you lying to me? Did you really overhear David and Ivy talking?
Mom, a few seconds ago, you said you believed me, and now you take one look at John and suddenly you change your mind?
It's just so hard to believe.
You'd rather have some stranger as your son than believe your own daughter.
You have become quite the liar, Kay, lately. You know, you really have to admit that.
Grace, honey, you can't be serious. You looked into Kay's eyes just like I did. I saw she was telling the truth, and you said you saw it too.
I know.
And now you're saying you don't believe her?
It's just... You know, I've always believed that John is my son. I believed it from the day that I met him. I can't believe he's not my son.
You mean you can't believe me?
No,
your own daughter?
It's not that. I just can't believe he's not my son. I mean, if Ivy did all these horrible things, if she manipulated us, how does she make me feel the way I feel for John? I have to have been married to David. I feel it. I can't lose John. I can't lose them.
Them? So it's not just about whether Kay is telling the truth or not. You can't stand to lose John or David. You can't stand to lose David either. Is that what you're saying? You'd rather be married to David than to me? Grace, am I right? You'd rather be married to David than to me?
Sam, I just think we should talk about this later.
No, let's talk about it now. And where is David? He's probably making a run for it.
My dad wouldn't run. He's got nothing to hide.
Look, he's in the kitchen with Dr. Eve, and he's just helping her clean up a glass she broke.
I don't think he'd just leave.
Yeah, his car's still parked out by our house. He didn't make a run for it.
I know he didn't.
Grace, I want to know what you're thinking. Are you more worried about losing John or David than me?
Look, Sam, I'm just upset because I want to know the truth.
I told you the truth.
Sam, you know, it took me a long time to finally accept that I was actually married to David before I had amnesia. And then John came to Harmony. And I was still grieving over the loss of our unborn son. And John came to me. And something that was missing inside of me was filled. He filled a hole in my heart. I believed that John was my son. I can't just turn those feelings off like a faucet.
You can turn your feelings from me off like a faucet. You kick me out of the house with the drop of a hat.
You refused to promise me that you wouldn't come between Charity and Miguel.
John has been your son for less than a year. I've been your daughter for almost 19. And yet, you can kick me out without even looking back at it, but when it comes to him, you hold on to him like he's the Holy Grail.
I just can't believe that John isn't my son. We have a connection.
Grace is right, you know. She and John do have a connection, a huge connection, because in case all of you have forgotten, she and John share the same DNA. Ivy's right. I mean, that, to me, is proof enough that Kay is just a little confused. I mean, I don't know who she heard in the park that day, but it certainly wasn't David and me.
I am not confused. And I'm not lying either.
Kay, no one but God has the power to give two people the same DNA. John has to be my son. He has to be. You can't argue with DNA, Sam. The test proved that John is my son.
Yes, remember when TC was trying to make the very same allegations that Kay is trying to make now?
Well, that was different. TC said he had a bad feeling about you, that you were up to no good. Kay has more than a feeling. She has proof. She overheard you and David talking about breaking up my marriage.
Well, I don't mean to disparage Kay, Sam, but she is an impressionable young girl. And her proof is simply a mistake. The DNA test results, that is actual solid proof.
Maybe. Something's not adding up here. I believe my daughter is telling the truth. So, maybe the DNA tests were faulty.
Well, talk about perfect timing. There's Dr. Eve. Why don't you ask her, Sam? Ask her if there's a problem with the DNA test results.
What?
You did the DNA tests on Grace and John. Certainly you would know if there was some sort of irregularity, because if there was a problem with the tests, your dear friends, Sam and Grace, would really like to know. Well, Eve, tell us, were the DNA tests done properly, or might there have been some irregularity?
Oh, come on, people. Don't you ever watch Law and Order? Everyone knows those tests can be contaminated or even rigged.
Kay, what are you saying? Are you saying that Dr. Eve, your parents' good friend, rigged the tests? Well, are you saying that Eve is in cahoots with David and me too?